If you know college football history, then you know us. Heisman coached here. Megatron played here. 222 points in a game, they were scored here. And 4 national titles, they were won here. All on the same field where we still play today. When you come to the Flats of Atlanta, gold isn't just what you wear, it's who you are. We're more than an institute. We're a college football institution. Proud of our history, driven to make more. Welcome to where tradition meets innovation, where toe meets leather, where white meets gold. This is Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket football. Welcome to Atlanta. It's time to swarm.
And who will be joining that legacy today? Welcome everyone to Atlanta and our December signing day special for Georgia Tech football. The first ever early signing period is officially underway. The faxes have started rolling in and our coverage gets rolling right now. Hello everyone, I'm Andy Demetra. Welcome inside the Georgia Tech football operations building. Here's what we have on tap for the next 90 minutes on Facebook Live. We will introduce you to the newest wave of future Jackets. You'll watch their highlights. We'll hear from the position coaches who recruited them on the strengths and skills that they'll bring to the Flats. We also have a great guest list lined up on a day dedicated to the future. You hear from Athletic Director Todd Stansberry on the future of Tech football, his vision and priorities for the program moving forward. We also talk one-on-one with quarterback Quan Marshall and punter Presley Harvin III. And of course, we'll get the thoughts of head coach Paul Johnson as he wraps up his first batch of signees. And we say first because this is now a new day for signing day in college football. Back in May, conference commissioners approved the passage of a December signing period. Players now have the option of submitting their letter of intent early rather than wait until the traditional February signing period. Technically, they have from now until 11:59 p.m. on Friday to send in their paperwork, though Georgia Tech anticipates most of its early signees will send in their letters of intent this morning. And we, of course, look forward to introducing them to you. So let's get started, shall we? Georgia Tech has 3 players who are not only signing early, but enrolling early for the spring semester. So let's meet our future Jackets right now, beginning with the first member of the 2018 signing class. And a young man who figures to be one of the defensive centerpieces of this 2018 class. Say hello to TK Mensa from Dacula, Georgia. Spent his last 2 years at IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. 6'3", 300-pound powerhouse defensive tackle, a 4-star prospect by ESPN, rated the number 28 defensive tackle in his class. He helped IMG post a perfect 20-0 record against what's widely regarded as the nation's most challenging high school schedule. Played his first 2 prep seasons at nearby Dacula High School, and on his way to the Flats, you know defensive line coach Mike Peldon is excited to work with this young man. We caught up with Mike Peldon for his thoughts on TK Mensa. Okay, so here for TK. First, Coach, put into perspective for everybody just how highly sought a kid this was.
You know, he was one of those kids that a lot of people, were after. The Georgias, the Florida States, and, he was probably the highest, rated kid that I've ever recruited here at Georgia Tech. And, it was one of those, we threw our hat in there and I brought him up a couple times, and, it was a real good get for us.
How satisfying is it for you when you can land somebody that a lot of other programs were after?
It's satisfying to land a kid like that, and when you really talk to TK and his parents, this was just the best fit for him. Even when we landed him early in the summer, school still recruited him, school still tried to get him to come visit, and but they were solid. They've been solid the whole time. His family's from Zimbabwe, and they're really big into education and just mentorship, and the dad made a point and the mom made a point of just having a powerful mentor around him, and that and that said a lot. It meant a lot that they trusted me with him, and it was just a real good get and a real good family. That's the thing that TK has, a great family and great support, and once they made the commitment, they stuck with it the whole time. It was never no wavering, never went anywhere else, never visited anywhere else. So when they made the commitment, to Georgia Tech, it was a commitment for the long haul.
So as a defensive tackle, what has you excited about TK that should also have Georgia Tech fans really excited about his future?
The thing is, he's explosive, and he's one of them kids that just competes at a high level, and he knows how to win. He played at IMG, and they won, more games than they lost, and it's just a program that had so much talent at that program, that defensive line. So he just knows how to win. He knows what it takes to win. He's athletic, he's powerful. He got the complete package. So, it's just going to be interesting to see how fast he comes in here and adapts to college, and he'll be an early admit, so he'll have a chance to go through spring, and, we'll get to see early what he can do, see how he helps us this past season, this next season coming up.
So Georgia Tech's 2018 class starts with a bang, and TK Mensa. His parents both moved to the United States from Zimbabwe. TK's full name is Jacquizz Jackson, which translates to "We've been blessed." A fitting name if there ever was one for National Signing Day. And he'll be joined by another teammate on the defensive side in this early signing class. Future jacket number 2, Jacquizz Jackson is a jacket. That is a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Out of Fort Valley, Georgia, Peach County High School, a 3-star prospect by ESPN 24/7 Sports and Rivals, ranked by Rivals as the number 25 inside linebacker in the nation, All-State in 2016, likely to receive All-State honors in 2017 as he helped Peach County High appear in the Class 3A state championship game. 137 tackles, 28 of them for a loss as a senior. Let's hear from the man who recruited him, assistant coach Andy McCollum. Jacquizz Jackson, one of the earlier players to commit to the signing class for Georgia Tech. Coach, he's an early enrollee on the flats. So you identified him early, and he identified you early as a relationship that they wanted to continue. What do you like so much about him?
Well, number one, he comes from a great program. Lost a heartbreaker in the state championship game this year. Chad Campbell, the head football coach, and his whole staff. One of the better head coaches in the state of Georgia, one of the better programs in the state of Georgia. And the thing I liked, I know the mentality, I know the work ethic that they put in that program. Jacquizz has been a leader on that team. I couldn't have been more proud at the state championship game watching him play. And that he was all over the place. He was leading that football team. I think he's a leader. I think he jumped in early. He came to Georgia Tech and loved it, loved everything about it. And I think he's been a great leader, not only on the football field, but in this class. Got great personality, can run, loves playing football. I think that's, this day and time, you got guys that love recruiting, and you got guys that love playing football. This kid loves playing football. His mother, Natalie Rumpf, has done a tremendous job with Jacquizz. Stayed on top of everything. His biggest fan, and his sister. So he comes from a program that you're proud to have coming into Georgia Tech. And Jacquizz is one of them guys that every day is a great day. He's upbeat, and he gets in early. He'll be here in a couple of weeks. So he'll get started early, and he's got a chance to run around and make a lot of plays at Georgia Tech.
He seems like one of those linebackers. He can get downhill on you in a hurry.
He does. He runs and plays and gets off blocks, loves playing, plays with the enthusiasm you want. The thing I saw in the state championship game was his focus, as a young player. And like I said, and I liked the way he handled it after a heartbreaking loss, a lot of adversity in that loss. And I like the way he handled himself, which speaks a lot about his coaches, speaks a lot about his family. And we look forward to getting him in here and being a leader on this team one day. And I like the way in that game he led by example. It wasn't a lot of talk, it was by example. And that's what you're looking for out of your leaders. And I think he's got a chance to come in here and be a great leader for us.
Jacquizz Jackson not only has the numbers to suggest a productive career here, but the genes as well. His cousin, Greg Lloyd, former 11-year NFL veteran, 5-time Pro Bowler with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Carolina Panthers. Now it's on to future jacket number 3. Let's see who has put pen to paper to join this 2018 signing class and enroll for the spring semester. One of the most sought-after players from Southwest Georgia, Charlie Thomas, out of Thomasville High School. He profiles as a defensive back, 6'2", 190 pounds, a 3-star prospect by ESPN, 24/7 Sports and Rivals. All-State honoree as a junior in 2016. Led Thomasville to its first undefeated regular season in 29 years. Also a nominee for the 2018 Army All-American game. We send it back to assistant Andy McCollum for his thoughts on his latest find from Thomasville High, Charlie Thomas. From Thomasville High School, Charlie Thomas. Athletic kid, you profile him as defensive back. What stands out?
Same thing, athleticism, long. Another one that comes from a great program at Thomasville High School that's had a lot of great players. Zach Grage, the coach down there, they were undefeated. I think they were 12-0, 13-0, and I think they got beaten the third or maybe the semifinals this year. That was third round, but had undefeated, had a tremendous season. And, you know, Charlie's played safety. He's played wide receiver. He's played wildcat quarterback. He's another one that's a 6'3", 6'4", 195, 200-pound player that has got just long frame and very athletic. So we see him as a safety. You know, some say he could be a great wide receiver, but right now we'll project him as a safety and look forward to getting him here. He took a lot of visits early in the summer, and like what Georgia Tech had for him, and chose it early, and it stayed solid through the whole thing.
Athleticism is one of those attributes you always look for on that side of the ball. How important is it nowadays to not only have that, but the ranginess that Charlie seems to have when he's covering the field?
I love his range. There's no telling how big this kid could get. His frame is tremendous, and he can run. And he loves playing football. You know, you get down in South Georgia, where he's from, I mean, they love playing football. And he's another guy that will enroll early to get a jump on it. And so we're excited about Charlie. His mother, Nisha Thurman, is another one that's done a tremendous job with Charlie. And Coach Grage has been very inspirational to this kid. You know, I think Coach Zach's been there, I guess it might be his second year, and to do the things that they've done, and Charlie's been a big part of that, and Zach's done a tremendous job with Charlie and that whole program down there at Thomasville High School.
And if you know your Georgia Tech history, you know Thomasville High School has been very good to the Yellow Jackets, the same high school that produced the quarterback of Tech's 1990 national championship team, Sean Jones. Charlie Thomas now makes that trek from Thomasville to the Flats. Well, we're just getting started here on Facebook Live. Still to come on our December signing day special, we'll talk with a pair of Yellow Jackets coming off standout seasons in quarterback to Quan Marshall and freshman All-American punter Presley Harvin III. Several more recruits have sent in their letters of intent. You'll meet those future Jackets in a few minutes. But you'll notice they're not the only new look for this program. You might have also noticed the entrance here to the Georgia Tech football building has gotten an upgrade recently. Let's take you behind the scenes of that beautification project as our December signing day coverage rolls on here on Facebook Live.
I think it'll be very positive from where we were a few months ago. We were dated, we were old. We came up with some good plans. Administration provided us some funds to get some things done, and we sat down with Coach and got what he wanted to do, and we wanted to create a very positive pop when they first entered the building, their first impression. And with the group we hired and all the work that was done, we think we created that.
Well, I tell you, anytime you can upgrade your facilities in recruiting, it's a big deal, and we were able to do a nice job with the lobby. I think we had some funds from the Atlanta United playing here that they had pledged, and Todd was kind enough to divert them our way, and we had a group come in and they did a nice job redoing our lobby and our entrance.
Oh man, that lobby's amazing, man. I'm kind of disappointed that it's my last year and I can't enjoy it like I want to, man. But that's great, man. They did a great job, and all throughout the hallways and lobbies, you get to see how historical Georgia Tech is, and it's amazing, man. We have all the Hall of Famers. We have we even have salaries up there, so it's kind of amazing, man.
Man, just what you see on my face right here, just smiling, man. It was great. It was really something new. You know, everything's shiny, just to the mannequins with the jerseys on them and everything, the TV in the front, the BGT, everything. It was just like, wow, man, like we just kind of, you know, stepping up in the program, and it's just really exciting to see what we're gonna have in the future.
My personal favorite is the trophy case. It shows a lot of the history, it shows all the national championships, and it's a great centerpiece for the room. The kids all want trophies to take pictures in front of trophies. And then with the NCAA changing the rules on how you can use them, we moved them to make it a permanent home that we can use them on a daily basis, or anytime we have a recruiting function, we can use them. So it's very positive.
It shows you about the history of Georgia Tech and everything. And so when you walk in, you see all that history, you see what you're repping every day, what you're working for every day, and what you got to play for in the future. So, you know, it's great to see those things, all the trophies and everything.
Well, I think anytime that you know, future recruits can see the NFL wall and see all the guys here who are playing, it kind of gives them the best of both worlds. They know they're going to get a world-class education, and if they're good enough, they're going to have the opportunity to play at the next level. So, and it's good for us to highlight those guys because they were such a big part of what success we've had here.
That's kind of the main seating area. That's kind of the bullpen before you go visit the head coach. So it gives those guys a chance to see all the guys that Coach Johnson has coached and has put in the league. So when they sit down one-on-one with the kid and the parents with Coach, when Coach is telling them the story of what an education in the NFL and all the opportunities that are there, they can see that it's a tangible thing. It's just not something, it's just not coach speak. It's something that's actually happened. I went and sat, as a recruit would sit, in the lobby in the new sitting area, where you can sit back and see the entire scope of the whole project. And the pop that we wanted and the positive first impression that we wanted, I think we accomplished it 100%.
Ready, Tim?
Let's do this. Was that Mike? That's Harry. The car stopped for me.
And that's automatic emergency braking.
The Nissan Rogue family. Take on today.
Bottom line, they still can't touch you.
I'll take it.
Get to Nissan, proud supporter of college athletics.
And a very good morning. Georgia Tech football is on the air today from Atlanta. The Yellow Jackets look to move to 2-0 in the ACC and knock off a team that's had their number in recent seasons. From Bobby Dodd Stadium this year, Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets hit a record of 2-1 against the North Carolina Tar Heels at a mark of 1-3, 0-2 in the ACC.
Let's dominate from the start, man. Let's dominate from the start, man. Hey, from the drop. Hey, let's go out here and have fun, man. Hey, GT on 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's go, man. Good work, man. Let's go, man. I need a turnover. Nigga said number 15 is number 5 now. I need a turnover. Go get it. Go get it. Playmate.
Gotta get into it now. Gotta have some energy. Let's go. Don't lose this opportunity, man. Woo! Team wins on 3. 1, 2, 3.
The Tar Heels won 3 straight over Georgia Tech, including last year's 48-20 mauling in Chapel Hill. That spread scheme has given the Yellow Jackets fits in recent years, and the Tar Heels have also won an astounding 10 of their last 11 true road games.
Guys, we've talked about it. It's time to go be about it. It's time to turn this tide. The way we're gonna do it is gonna be because of everybody in this circle. Now let's go break the silence.
That's right.
Let's go make some noise. Let the ACC know that you can't forget about the Yellow Jackets. That we've got a statement we're gonna make that every man would bring his A game today. every man would be on his assignment. Every man would step to his challenger and not retreat.
Option left, Marshall cuts it up to the 45, slips through 50, 45. He'll have the first down as he's hit from behind by Cole Holcomb. Sliding on the line by North Carolina. Marshall gets the snap, rolls right on the option, almost blown up in the backfield, steps out of a tackle, he's at the 5, cutting it wide to the 3, dives to the pylon, and he's in. Touchdown to Quan Marshall. Theater from the junior, and the Jackets have the opening touchdown. Marshall hands off, Benson slanting it right across the 40, skips out of a tackle, 45, 50, down the sideline he goes, 40, 35, 30, he's got blockers, 15, 10, 5, house call, Gervonta Benson, 63 yards.
Taking the distance, young man. Great run and great blocking to lead the way by Ricky Jr.
You and Gervonta together, you guys over 100 yards, each of you on the ground for the third time in 4 games. What does today's performance in this first month mean to you two specifically?
Well, me and Gervonta, we kind of feed off of each other. When we're in the huddle, we just, boost each other up and, have confidence in each other. I have confidence that he's going to make a play, and he has confidence in me that I'm going to carry out my fake and get some guys out of the box so he can make a play. So, it's really just a 1-2 punch, and then we have other guys that, make plays as well, and the guys up front that make great blocks. So, I really can't say too much about it. He's a great running back. Obviously, you can see he's hard to take down, and it takes about 5 guys to get him down every time. So,
Sidecar to his right. He fields the snap, waist high, retrieves the throw, pressured by Simmons, and he levels him back at the 31. Antonio Simmons, a big sack on 3rd and long for the Yellow Jackets. Surratt marks to the ball and gets it. Pressure off the edge, Steph Durham chasing and sacks him back at the 41. Diamond formation camp, full house backfield. 2 tailbacks and an H-back. A play fake. Surratt looking to launch. Guns it over the middle, and that is intercepted. A.J. Gray at the 35. On a 2nd and 6 from the 31. Slot left. Feels for the laces. Stands back, throws, intercepted. A.J. Gray at the 40. Angling right at the 35. Looking for blocks. He's at the 25 and tripped up at the 24. A.J. Gray, his 2nd pick of the day.
Let's start with those 2 interceptions. Can you take me through those 2 plays?
I just stayed back and just stayed there until I knew whether he gave the ball or kept it. So he just kept keeping it, and then when he keep it, I was off his eyes, and I was just reading his eyes, playing the game with the quarterback, because he's trying to play the game with me, so I was playing with him, just staying at 8 yards when the ball snapped. That way he don't know whether to give it or pull it.
Another convincing day on the flats for Georgia Tech as they take care of North Carolina. Our final score, Georgia Tech 33, Carolina 7. And the Jackets headed into the meat of their schedule with a record of 3-1 and now 2-0 in the ACC. By the Yellow Jackets this past season as we welcome you back to our coverage of the December signing period at Georgia Tech, presented by Nissan, a proud supporter of college athletics. Shop ChooseNissan.com and take on today. My name is Andy Demeter. We have 4 new future Jackets who have just submitted their letters of intent. One of the Yellow Jackets who wrapped up his career last month was A-back J.J. Green, who joined some elite company this past year with his touchdown receptions against Jacksonville State and Miami. J.J. becomes the first player at Georgia Tech with a rushing, receiving, and kick return touchdown in his career since Drew Hill, who starred here on the flats from 1975 to 1978. So that leaves one less A-back for Georgia Tech in 2018, but one new A-back is set to join the fold. Let's meet our next future Jacket signee, number 4 in this 2018 Yellow Jacket class. And he is Dante Smith from Spring Hill High School in Tennessee, 5'11", 185, rated 3 stars by ESPN, 24/7 Sports and Rivals. 24/7 Sports has him as the nation's number 20 all-purpose backs. One of 3 finalists for Tennessee's 4A Mr. Football Award as a senior. Almost 4,300 rushing yards over his final 2 prep seasons at Spring Hill High School. Let's hear from assistant Andy McCollum, who is the point man of Dante Smith's recruitment, a recruitment that ends here at Georgia Tech.
Coach McCollum, Dante Smith, another one of your polls from the great state of Tennessee. What attracted you to him when you first laid eyes on him?
You know, Dante comes from a program at Spring Hill High School. It was funny, I got a text message from Shaq Mason, one of our former players with the New England Patriots now, and that's from Shaq's neighborhood, and had a relationship with this family, and Shaq said, y'all need to take a look at this guy. And Dante came to our camp and ran a 4.34, 4.35, and then you look at his film, it's like a video game. And he was runner-up, Mr. Football in his class in Tennessee. Great character. Mama Desiree's done a tremendous job, little brother Seneca, and comes from good family and did a great job in the program. Coach Emmons at Spring Hill, they had a good year, made it to the second round of the playoffs, and, which was really a great job at Spring Hill High School.
People will see what you described as the video game type moves that he pulls. Athletically, physically, what sets him apart as a runner?
He's a make you miss guy. I mean, you'll sit there and you'll watch his film and you're like, whoa, you know, you want to run it back. And then when he came to camp, he did a tremendous job. He's a guy that walked in here and, you know, we timed him, and then Coach Johnson went over and timed himself, you know, to make sure what he saw. But he's just explosive and will be a great fit here at Georgia Tech.
How important is it to have that true explosive perimeter runner in this type of offense?
Oh, you want the guy that when he's, you know, when he gets the breakaway, that he's not going to get caught, and he has that speed, and he can make you miss. He's going to make the first guy's not going to catch him. He can be a return guy for us and do a lot of things with the football in his hand.
So we welcome Dante Smith to the fold here at Georgia Tech, but he is not the only product of the state of Tennessee who is signed up as part of his 2018 early class. Our next signee for the Yellow Jackets, back to the state of Tennessee we go, and Jalen King. And this is a good one, folks. Four-star prospect Jalen King by 24/7 Sports and Rivals. He's ranked the number 5 overall player in his class in the state of Tennessee, the number 22 cornerback in the nation by Rivals, ranked number 8 on the Tennesseans' 2017 Dandy Dozen list. Another dandy from the Volunteer State, and the man responsible for recruiting him, Andy McConnell. Let's hear from him now. You lose a couple of talented defensive backs this year, but you hope to gain some in this recruiting class. Jalen King hopes to fit the bill. Coach, what do you like about him on the tape?
You know, Jalen, he's long, athletic, and also comes from a great program at Ensworth High School. He is you know, Coach Ricky Bowers, who's just put in the Hall of Fame this past year, friend of mine, Paul Wade, and got a lot of guys on that staff. It's a lot of tradition at that school. And Jalen's he's been a standout. I think Jalen King's one of the better players in the state of Tennessee. He plays everything. He plays wide out. He's played quarterback. He's returned punts. He's done about everything at that school. He's had a great career, and I think he's got a chance to compete early. I do think he's one of the better players. I love his character, his daddy Jeff and mama Shaniqua and their daughters. You know, one thing about Jalen, when he was heavily recruited, academics always stood out for this family. Mama's an educator, and they did their homework and found this was the fit. They have family here. Mama's got a lot of family here, and so this was a fit for them and a great fit for us. And it is a guy that we look forward to getting here, and I think we'll have a chance to compete early. Very serious about what he does. Very serious about education, very serious about what Georgia Tech brings to him, and we're excited what he brings to us.
When somebody plays all over the field like Jalen does, they must not only be a great athlete, but they must also have a great feel for the game. What can you tell us about Jalen's feel for the game of football?
You know, I think in coaching, you talk about that it factor. He's got it. I mean, he knows where the ball is. He's a natural player, and like I said, he could play so many positions, and we're excited that at corner his athleticism, his length. He's physical. He's another guy that loves playing, and he's a very, very mature guy for his age. And I think he'll have a mindset to come in here and play. And to get one from that high school, we've tried on a few, and you know, so to have one from Ensworth, I've had a long running joke. They've in their gym, they have all the banners for everybody that's signed scholarships have come from that high school. And I've always told Paul Wade up there, a close friend of mine, and Ricky Bowers, that we need a Georgia Tech banner in that gym, and now we're going to get one. And you know, I'm excited to finally be able to walk in that school and see our Georgia Tech banner up at Ensworth High School.
So the product of Ensworth High School outside of Nashville, Jalen King, now a Yellow Jacket. He is the third four-star defensive back from the state of Tennessee to join the Jackets program in the last 2 years, joining Caleb Oliver and Gentry Bonds, who signed last year. All three of those players hope to make a lot of plays in their careers on historic Grant Field. We already know it's historic, but also it is award-winning. Recently, it was named by the Sports Turf Managers Association College Football's 2017 Field of the Year. 5 signees have already sent in their letters of intent during this early signing period here at Georgia Tech. Let's meet number 6 now for the class of 2018. And we head to the mountains, specifically Mountain View High School in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and Malachi Carter will bring his wide receiver skills to the flats, a 3-star prospect according to ESPN 24/7 Sports and Rivals. He set a Gwinnett County record for receiving yards in 2017, also had 72 receptions, 19 touchdowns, second-team All-State as a junior, and 130 total catches over his last 2 years at Mountain View High, 2-time Gwinnett County Wide Receiver of the Year. His recruiter was defensive coordinator Ted Roof. Let's hear from him on the newest addition to the wide receiving corps at Georgia Tech, Malachi Carter. All right, Coach Roof, Malachi Carter, Mountain View High School. What attracted you to him? What stands out about his tape?
Well, I think there's several things that attracted us to him and several things that stand out on his tape. He's highly, highly competitive, takes every aspect of his game very serious, from running routes to catching the ball to blocking to competing for the ball when it's in the air. So he takes all that extremely serious and is one heck of a competitor. And then his playmaking ability. You know, they've been playing football in Gwinnett County for a long time, and he broke all the receiving records there. And going into those high schools, you ask the other coaches that have played against him, you know, doing your homework, what do you think about this kid, or what do you think about that kid? And to a man, every one of them raved about Malachi. And when the people and your opponents respect you, that leads us to believe that you're a heck of a player.
How do you evaluate competitiveness in a recruit? That's a word you use often to describe Malachi. Is that something you can tell from the tape, or is that something where you do more of your homework away from the field in learning whether a guy has the competitive attributes you're seeking?
Well, in his case, it jumps off on the tape. But in addition to that, when you go watch a young man practice, and that's something now with all the early offers and the internet stuff, to get a live evaluation on a guy, to see how they practice. And when you go to his practice, he practices just how he plays. And so that lets you know that it's personal to him, it's really important. And again, the competitive attributes that you look for in football players.
Tell us about his family. I know that also impressed you during the recruitment process of him.
Yeah, extremely, extremely solid family. A lot of support from mom and dad. And you walk into that house, and Malachi is a great young man, but as soon as you walk into that home and you meet that mother and father, you understand why.
And a good reminder, this is not only a special day for these future student athletes at Georgia Tech, a special day for their families and loved ones as well. In this 2018 signing class, there is always that player who submits his letter of intent before anyone else. He is our next signee in the class of 2018. Let's meet him now. He was up bright and early to get that letter of intent signed, sealed on its way to Tech. Luke Johns joins the Jackets out of Dalton, Georgia's Southeast Whitfield High School, a 3-star prospect by ESPN 24/7 Sports Scout and Rivals, 2-time first-team All-Region as a senior at Southeast Whitfield, 95 tackles, 5 sacks at 6'5", 250 pounds. Brings a lot of raw athletic ability to the defensive line pool. Let's hear from offensive line coach Ron West about the newest addition to the 2018 class, Luke Johns. You add to the defensive line Luke Johns from Southeast Whitfield High School. Coach, what can you tell us about him?
Well, amazing young man. When I first started recruiting him, you know, he was a guy that was a track athlete, and a lot of people wouldn't believe this, but when he was right at 200 pounds or right under it, he high jumped 6'10". And I've never seen a kid with that kind of explosive power. He's 6'4.5" to 6'5". He's now 250. But when he was 210, I know he went 210, 215, he went 6'8" on the high jump. So he's a guy that's got explosive power, because that's what I measure, guys that can jump and come out of their hips. He can explode. He can really run. When you watch his highlights, you can see him run, change direction. They played him at middle linebacker, defensive end. They moved him all around this year. And he's just a guy that can be developed, we really feel like can be developed into a really good football player. He also has excellent grades. He's a good student athlete. He did a great job academically, and so he's really prepared to fit Georgia Tech.
Are you excited to see where ultimately he'll land positionally because of that array of athletic abilities?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, he could play. He's a defensive. We're thinking he's a defensive end, defensive lineman. We'll start off at that spot, but he could wind up growing. He's going to be a big young man. He's over 250 now, and so I would say, by the time he gets here, he's going to be around 260 something.
And how nice is it to add in this signing class a couple of guys who played at defensive end, who are long, who have that range, who are bigger defensive ends?
It helps. I mean, bottom line is it helps you. It's hard for a quarterback, when you got some height on the edges, and sometimes the pocket presses and you can't get there, but you press the pocket and you get your hands up. Quarterback, it just makes the windows tighter for him to throw in.
Not only get your hands up, but when you can high jump 6'10", you can get even higher.
Correct.
Luke Johns, who plans to major in computer engineering when he arrives at Georgia Tech. Well, still to come on our December signing day special, head coach Paul Johnson, athletic director Todd Stansbury will join us. More future Jackets are lined up, ready to be announced. But first, the future at quarterback for Georgia Tech seemed uncertain in the preseason. The Yellow Jackets had to replace a 3-year starter in Justin Thomas. That uncertainty seems quaint in hindsight. Quan Marshall seized the job in camp, and it didn't take long for the junior to showcase his abilities, often in record-setting ways. Before he headed home for this holiday break, we caught up with Quan Marshall about not only this past season, what he learned as a starter, but how he plans to attack the offseason. That's next as our coverage of the December signing day rolls on here on Facebook Live. All right, Taquan, let's take it back to Harris County High School and your own recruitment. What do you recall of that time, choosing schools, deciding ultimately that Georgia Tech was the place you wanted to go?
It's a hectic process. A lot of coaches calling you. You're trying to balance school and also trying to focus on your high school team and get to where you want to be with them. But you kind of just sit back and realize the opportunity you have in front of yourself and try to choose the best school that fits you best. And for me, it was Georgia Tech. Academically, I knew that when football was over, I was going to have a great degree. I knew I was going to meet a lot of different people that were going to help me along the way and possibly, people that were going to help me in my future. So that's ultimately why I chose Georgia Tech.
And this fall, you broke Justin Thomas's school record for rushing yards in the season by a quarterback. Of those 1,100-plus rushing yards that you had, what was your favorite run this past year?
It probably would have been our homecoming game to seal the deal against Wake Forest. It's probably like a 70-yard run. That was probably one of the most exciting ones. Just the stadium went in an uproar, and all the guys around me were excited. The guys around me made blocks where I could make a play, so it was exciting. Plus, it was a night game in Bobby Dodd, which you can't really beat.
Now that you're into the offseason, what's on the checklist for Quan Marshall? Areas of your game that you want to sharpen heading into your final season?
Well, definitely, I'll be making better connections with my receivers. We're gonna get in the indoor and start throwing pretty early this offseason, and I'm gonna work on my feet, work on my speed, work on my strength, my size, so a little bit of everything.
Harris County High School, what was it like that signing day?
Oh, it was exciting. We had about 6 other guys signing with me. We had a lot of friends and family all come, and it was just a moment that we all knew we had been working so hard for, and we were finally able to say, well, we're going to be going to a Division I college. So it was very exciting. We got to cherish that moment with our friends and family, and everyone was really excited for us, and I think we all enjoyed it.
Advice you would give to these new signees about acclimating to Georgia Tech, acclimating to ACC football?
Just stay on top of your grind. Just stay hungry and keep working hard, because you can never work hard enough, and because all the guys around you are going to be working hard. So it's kind of contagious too when you get here, but just keep working hard and know that you're going to get somewhere where you may be down, but just know that the people around you are going to help you out, and just keep working hard and you'll be fine.
And finally, with each new signing class, it makes you become a little more of an elder statesman on the team. Does it start to feel like it now that you're one of the old heads here in the program?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how fast the time flies, because I remember just coming in my freshman year in the summer, and now I'm going into my last summer here. So, I mean, the time flies. It's really crazy. I tell people all the time, like, you saying like you're ready to leave now, but you just don't know. I was saying the same thing, and now it's here, and I'm like, dang, I don't want it to be over.
Well, time flies, but 1,100 yards, 17 touchdowns, so did you. To Quan Marshall, we appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Ready, Tim?
Let's do this. Was that Mike? That's Harry. The car stopped for me.
And that's automatic emergency braking.
The Nissan Rogue family. Take on today.
Bottom line, they still can't touch you.
I'll take it.
Get to Nissan, proud supporter of college athletics.
And a very good evening. Great to finally say that again at Bobby Dodd Stadium. The skyline is lit, the stakes are high, and Georgia Tech will try to put the disappointment of that Miami loss behind them. For the first time in almost 2 years, the Yellow Jackets have a Saturday night home game in Atlanta. Across the sidelines from them tonight, a program that has started to reemerge in the ACC Atlantic. From Bobby Dodd Stadium, it's your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets at a record of 3-2, 2-1 in the ACC against the Wake Forest Demon Deacons at a mark of 4-2, 1-2 in league play.
Nighttime at Bobby Dodd, it's going to get real scary out now. Real scary. Let them Jackies loose at night, man.
Hey, let's get ready to fly around and have some fun now. Let's do this thing. Let's get it done. Team wins on 3. 1, 2, 3. Team wins.
You probably know the number. If you don't, you have surely felt its pain. The Yellow Jackets have trailed for a grand total of 4 seconds in the second half this year, and their record is 3-2. Another cool finish last Saturday as Miami booted a game-winning field goal with 4 seconds left. Often those finishes can put a team into a funk, but the prevailing mood inside practice this week wasn't frustration, but focus. The Yellow Jackets are hungry to get back at it tonight.
I've been here 4 years. You don't get to play on Saturday night every time, man. Everybody think back when y'all was recruiting on that sideline. Y'all had that feeling, but I can't wait to get on that field. Now we here. You don't never know what your time gonna be, so everybody stay in tune in the game. But it's gonna be a fun night, but I'm telling you, they're all white in that nighttime. We gonna come alive now. Don't take it for granted. It's really a blessing to be here, man. It's hard to forget that, but it's really a blessing to be here. Seeing as your time running down. Your time running down to play at Bobby Dodd, man, so don't take this for granted. Change the game. Everybody need to have that mentality we gonna change the game, man, and stay into the game. Let's go, man. It's time to get a dub. We ain't won in a long time, man. It's time to get a dub. Let's go.
George jets in motion. Snap, turn, give, and leaping.
Didn't get it.
Carney got stopped.
No, sir.
Got stopped.
Georgia Tech football.
No need to measure that one.
Wolver gets it, looks right, and he's sacked. Sacked from the backside. Victor Alexander will turn it over on downs. And protection momentarily, but Victor Alexander was not going to be denied.
Brent Mitchell out today. Did you feel like you had to take on a bigger role tonight?
Yeah, I feel like I had to become the leader, you know, that Brent usually is when we're out there. You know, 'cause I'm mostly looking at him, you know, looking for some answers too. And I knew I just had to execute. I know it was 4th down and it had to be a big play for the team. All I did was think about the team. And I went out there, beat my block, made the play, was off the field.
Tail motion, Searcy. And Marshall hesitates, comes right on the option, gets to the edge. He's at the 50, dashing down the sideline, 40, 35, 30. He's going to block 20, 15, 10. Sees it his feet. 5. Touchdown. Jacquizz to Quan Marshall. 49 yards. Reed and Searcy, the A-back combination, officially 2nd and 8. There's the snap. Marshall hands off Benson. Up, it's a pitch out wide. Here's Searcy, has space down the left sideline. 30, 25, 20, 20 to the 15, the 10. He's in. Touchdown, Jacquizz. Marshall takes, turns, gives it on the trap play to Benson. He's wide open up the middle to the 5, and he leaps in for the touchdown. That was about the only thing he's been missing from this night, but he had to seize part up the middle and plunged in for 6. Marshall takes, turns, counter option to the right, followed his blocks, he's at the 30, opens his stride, 45, 50, winding down the sideline, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, to Quan Marshall with the house call.
Last 2 close games, the offense wasn't able to put that last drive in to put the game away. How nice was it to get that dagger on that long run?
It was amazing to, you know, rally the guys together and put together a drive to go down and actually seal the game. I mean, it's very exciting. We knew we could finish. We just had to actually do it.
On homecoming night at Bobby Dodd Stadium, Georgia Tech is able to take care of Wake Forest and earn a 3rd ACC win of the season. Our final score, Georgia Tech 38, Wake Forest 24, and what was an overpowering 2nd half for the Yellow Jackets.
Early signing day special for Georgia Tech football presented by Nissan. A win for your team is a win for you too. There's nothing quite like it except driving a Nissan. Get to Nissan, a proud supporter of college athletics, and shop ChooseNissan.com. Take on today. Well, there's nothing quite like nighttime at Bobby Dodd Stadium either. The Yellow Jackets use that as a backdrop for a 38-24 win over Wake Forest on homecoming. You saw those highlights a moment ago. Which future Yellow Jackets will be responsible for highlights in the years ahead? We're getting our answer this morning on our new early signing day special from inside the Georgia Tech Football Operations Center. And oh, by the way, you might have seen these on social media over the weekend. Mock-ups of Georgia Tech's new uniforms that'll be coming courtesy of Adidas. These are not the final product, but a little taste, a little tease perhaps of what's to come in 2018. And we know which student athletes will be wearing those Adidas uniforms in the years ahead. Let's meet our next signee in the 2018 signing class for the Yellow Jackets, a wide receiver who is looking to replace the production of a very talented and dependable one for the Yellow Jackets. Ricky June, the redshirt senior, arrived here from Spring Valley, New York, led the Jackets with 25 catches, 6 touchdowns this season. In doing so, he became the first Yellow Jacket to lead the team in receptions for 3 straight seasons since Calvin Johnson. And we wish Ricky the best as he begins his pursuit of a professional career. So quite a pair of cleats to live up to, and we'll see which wide receiver will join the wide receiver room next. The next member of our 2018 signing class from just up the road in Noonan, Georgia, Noonan High School, P.J. Harris is now a Yellow Jacket. Harris, a 3-star prospect, ESPN 24/7 Sports and Rivals, all-region and all-county honoree, 47 catches, nearly 600 yards over his final 2 prep seasons, had 33 catches as a senior, a 78-yard touchdown catch in his 3rd game for Noonan High. He will join wide receivers coach Buzz Preston, and here is Coach Preston on P.J. Harris. Coach Preston, P.J. Harris, Noonan High, just up the road. Going to have him in the wide receiver room. What do you like about this young man?
Oh, I like everything about him. Number one, he's got me, which is always good in my position. And he's just a team player, a guy that's a Georgia Tech type of guy all around and really wants to be a great player.
What are the kind of ball skills that he brings to that receiver position?
Oh, great ball skills. He goes up and attacks the ball. You know, he doesn't mind going there and making that tough block on a linebacker or what have you. He's just a really tough player.
If you watch guys like Jacquizz Jackson when he lined up in the slot, or Ricky June this year, Brad Stewart, you know that you place a lot of value on the ability to perimeter block at wide receiver. That's not always a skill you see from these high school kids. They're all about catching the football, but it seems like PJ might be a little different. It's his blocking that also you like just as much as the receiving.
Yeah, it's the blocking, but it's also the physicality that he brings to it, because, again, the game is still a game of physicalness. And if you're willing to do that, then you got a chance, because, like I said earlier, he attacks the ball when it's in the air. He makes those great catches when people are draped all over him. And so that's exciting to have a guy like that in the program.
When did he first land on your radar? He's just up the road in Noonan High School, but it's always interesting to hear the path that these players take to land on the radars of these programs.
Well, actually, he landed on my radar as a sophomore. I went to go see him play a game, and the coach that was at the school said, hey, that one's pretty good. And so we started tracking him. He came to our camp, and I really, as a sophomore, really liked what he did as a young sophomore and saw great potential in him. And, you know, just stayed on top of him, and fortunately it worked our way.
Now, P.J. Harris, following in the footsteps of his parents. His mom played basketball at Southern Miss, and his dad played football at Tennessee State, officially signing number 8 for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets this morning. And now it's on to number 9 for the Yellow Jackets in the class of 2018. Jay Watley, the A-back from the Darlington School in Rome, Georgia. ESPN 24/7 Sports rivals all have him as a 3-star prospect. Rushed for nearly 4,000 yards, 50 touchdowns over 3 seasons at Darlington. He was the 2017 Georgia Region 6A North Offensive Player of the Year. And get this, he had a school record 357 rushing yards in a game as a junior, likely to become a 3-time All-State honoree when teams are announced later this month. We know his next team is the Yellow Jackets, and let's hear from co-offensive line coach Ron West and Jay Watley. If you're familiar with Georgia high school football, then you know a lot of great players come out of that Rome area. Jay Watley, one of them from the Darlington School. What attracted you to this young man, Coach?
Well, you know, it wasn't just his ability to run the football, catch the ball. Tajay's got great range, but, you know, he's got great grades too. I mean, academically, the Darlington School produces a lot of great kids that are prepared for Georgia Tech, and he is definitely one that is academically prepared. The biggest thing is, you know, his nickname by his dad when he was young was Cheetah, because he could actually run away from everybody. He was so fast, and you know, he's a 6'2" guy with range that can, you know, he runs track, he runs a 400 to 200, he can jump. He's played basketball in the past years, just a good athlete. This year he's not playing basketball, but he's, you know, in the past years he has. And he's a powerful runner. You know, he ran over people this year. He ran, and when he got in space, he just took off and with great speed and outran people. He can catch the ball in space. He can catch the ball vertical, because he's a 6'2" type athlete. He can really jump. Great young man that'll work hard, and they used him a lot at Darlington this year to have the year they had. They went to the semifinals. I think they lost to Prince Avenue, but it was a deal where they had a really good year, and he was a big part of it.
When you reach the college level, that speed gap closes for guys who can rely on their legs in high school. In that case, how important is it then that out of Jay, you saw somebody who has the power running ability as well?
Well, I think what we see out of him, he can be a bigger kid. You know, he's, you know, pretty thick, but he can get bigger because of his size, and he can even be a bigger back. And I think the biggest thing is, you know, a lot of times at A-back, our position, you know, you got to have some power, explosive power, to be able to block those people down on the perimeter and stuff like that. And that's what I see he could do. He could run the ball, block, and he can make plays. And that is the key to, you know, playing A-back for us.
Jay, already a well-traveled young man, grew up in a military family, was actually born in Germany, has lived in Hawaii and Colorado, where he won a state championship in 2014 as a freshman. in Colorado Springs, now the next member of Georgia Tech's 2018 signing class. We talked about where Jay Watley has gone to. Let's talk about where the Yellow Jackets will go to next season as we get a sneak peek at their 2018 non-conference schedule. They open things up September 1st versus Alcorn State, September 8th, heading to Tampa to take on USF. They welcome in Bowling Green on September 29th, and then Clean Old Fashioned Hate goes back between the hedges to close out the regular season November 24th. Our next signee knows all about the state rivalry, a Georgia product, and he is the next member of Tech's 2018 signing class. Let's meet him now. Defensive lineman Austin Smith out of Ola High School. And he's a good one. 6'4", 295, three-star prospect by ESPN, 24/7 Sports and Rivals, a two-time first-team All-Region honoree, helped lead Ola to the school's first ever playoff appearance as a junior in 2016. Hopes for more success on the flats. The man who recruited him, Joe Speed. Let's hear from him on Austin Smith. All right, Coach Speed, Austin Smith, defensive lineman, Ola High School. When you flip on that tape of him, what made you identify him as a guy that you wanted at Georgia Tech?
Well, definitely the biggest thing that sticks out is the size. I mean, he's a huge kid, already 300 pounds, been lifting hard in the weight room ever since he's gotten in high school, and he's an imposing force on the field. He primarily started off at the defensive side, but Coach Zito over at Ola High School, he put him on both sides of the ball, and we were impressed, both with him at the defensive line position, then it shows his offensive line skills as well. So we knew that he was a great athlete and a big imposing player.
The feet, the physicality, if he has one attribute that stands out above the others, what is it?
Yeah, he's got excellent feet. He's got a great motor. He kind of changes personalities when he gets on the field. He's a gentle giant off the field, but when he gets on the field, he flips the switch, and he's a different person when he's on the football field.
And then to have somebody who's 300 pounds coming out of high school that you can line up on the interior of the line, how important is that as you see the future of the Georgia Tech defense, to have somebody like that ready-made, physically, weight-wise, the kind of guy you're looking for at defensive tackle?
That's exactly right. We're looking for him to come in early on and have a big impact. I know Coach Sisk and the strength staff are going to enjoy working with him, coming with a frame that he already has and already has good strength that they can build upon. And we look forward to him contributing early and having that size that we need up front to hopefully give us some push in the pocket.
Plans to major in business management at Georgia Tech. We welcome in Austin Smith, signing number 10 this morning for Georgia Tech. It's on to number 11. Let's introduce you to the newest Future Jackets. Vanya Thomas out of Niceville High School in Niceville, Florida. Georgia Tech outflanking several SEC schools for this young man. 6'3", 205-pound defensive back, a three-star prospect by ESPN, 24/7 Sports and Rivals, two-time All-State honoree. 2017 accolades still yet to be doled out. As a sophomore in 2015, you don't often hear about guys who set national high school records, but this young man did. In 2015, Vanya Thomas returned interceptions for a touchdown in 5 consecutive games, a national high school record. Could we see some pick sixes in this man's future? Well, let's hear from assistant coach Andy McCollum on Vanya Thomas. Vanya Thomas played on both sides of the ball at Niceville High School in Florida, wide receiver, defensive back. You know he's got a lot of athleticism. What else stands out about his play, Coach?
He's just very athletic. He's the player of the year down there. Comes from a great program. He's been 2 years at Niceville High School with Coach John Hicks. Year in and year out. It's one of the top programs in the state of Florida. And every time you watch Vanya play on either side of the ball, he's making plays. He's long. He's athletic. He loves playing the game. And there's just a lot of things that stand out. I mean, when you walk out to see a game, he's the first one you see. I mean, he's standing, great leader, great teammate, and I think that's what everybody wants to be thought of and remembered for. But he's been a great teammate to all his teammates at Niceville High School.
What kind of player are you getting generally from the state of Florida who lines up at defensive back? We know what kind of talent comes out of that state, especially at the skill positions. If you have a DB who is an ACC caliber player, you know you're getting something special.
He is. I mean, he's played corner. He can play corner. He can play safety. And like I said, he's long and very athletic. He's a punt returner. It was funny. I asked him one day, I guess a couple of weeks ago, I said, can you return punts? He said, I can, Coach. One of the games I was at, he returned one for a touchdown, ran right by me. And he said, you saw me, do that. But there's a lot of things that stand out about Vanya. The thing on Vanya is his story. And a lot of people across the country have heard his story. His mother, Stephanie, is just a story in itself. The battles that she's overcome, the adversity that the family's been through, her raising that family, and she's just done a tremendous job with all these kids. Younger brother, Arzay, I say AZ, but he's an 8th grader there and a tremendous athlete, and just the older brother that's at Florida A&M, Azarie. And but just being part and being around that family to see the love and the care that she has for that family and what she's done to raise that family, and for Vanya to have this opportunity. He's a kid that every time he walks out there, he knows what he's playing for. He plays with a chip on his shoulder, and he plays for family. And it's a unique family, and it's been an honor really to be part of the recruiting process with this family.
A day to celebrate for sure for Vanya Thomas, and Georgia Tech excited to have him aboard as a member of this December signing class. Those signees will aim for the same early success as our next guest. Presley Harvin III came to the Flats with some lofty credentials, ranked as high as the #2 punter in the nation out of Alcalá, South Carolina. Now, a lot of credentials in high school doesn't always guarantee immediate production in college, but Harvin showed he might be a third, but he excels on 4th as he earned not only ACC but All-American honors in his true freshman season. We sat down recently with Presley. Enjoy that interview now as our December signing day coverage continues, presented by Nissan here on Facebook Live. Well, Presley, first off, congratulations. ESPN tabbed you a true freshman All-American on top of your All-ACC honors. What was your reaction when you heard that you had made freshman All-American?
It was truly a blessing. I didn't kind of expect it. I know I fell a little bit short of my goal of trying to get about 45 yards average my freshman year. I just wanted to help the team out as much as I could, but when I found out, I called my mom. She didn't answer the phone at first. Keyshawn Freeman actually told me about it earlier that morning, and I went ahead and went online and looked, tried to call my parents, tried to let them know. They were kind of excited for it too. The biggest thing was I just wanted to make sure I made them proud, and that's a big accomplishment to try to make them proud.
When you go from high school to college football, everybody says it's bigger, it's faster, it's stronger. With punting, though, it's all about your own technique, your own performance, what you do individually. What was the biggest adjustment for you coming from punting in high school to punting at Georgia Tech?
The speed of the game. College games fly by quick. I can say the return is a lot better too. High school returners aren't as good as a college returner. About every team has a dynamic player back there. You got to just try to pin it somewhere where they can't do a lot of it.
Your best performances arguably were on the road against ranked opponents in heavy driving rain, Miami and Clemson. Were you always a good bad weather punter?
Never was. I never really had the opportunity to try to kick in rain games, but when I did in high school, it wasn't too bad. But I tried to help the team out as much as I could because you can't do a lot with a soggy ball. But I tried to make the best of it.
Let's go back to your recruitment to Georgia Tech. When was the moment you realized this was the place for me?
My junior day visit back in February of 2016. I came here. I met all of the coaches, staff, saw the facilities and all, and I liked it a lot. I talked with the advisors too that day. And when I found out about the major that I wanted to do and all of that and the figures that I could have after I graduate, I knew this was the place.
How was your first semester here juggling punting at the ACC level and also juggling some high-level courses at Georgia Tech?
It was difficult at first. Everybody knows college is not easy, especially at Tech. But I managed it. My academic staff helped me. Coaching staff gave me motivation. My parents gave me motivation too, just told me to stick with it.
what was your strongest recollection of your signing day at Sumter High School in Sumter, South Carolina?
My signing day, it was pretty big. I mean, we had I think about 10 people that signed. I had a lot of family involved with it. I had a couple of people come down. My aunt that came from Charlotte. That signing day, when I was signing the letter of intent, I felt like I've accomplished a lot in my life.
Were your hands shaking when you signed it?
Yeah.
Okay. So what advice would you give to kids who are now signing their letters of intent about what you learned of the transition going from high school to college football? What advice would you impart to those kids?
Just stay on top of it. Don't let yourself slack off, because when you get here, it's going to be moving with or without you. So just make sure you're ahead of your game. Make sure you get your books first. That's priority, because without that, you can't do football.
And you certainly showed that in the classroom and on the field. Freshman All-American, All-ACC as a true freshman punter here at Georgia Tech. Look forward to many more booming punts to come. Preston, we appreciate the time. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Ready, Tim?
Let's do this. Was that Mike? That's Harry. The car stopped for me.
And that's automatic emergency braking.
The Nissan Rogue family. Take on today.
Bottom line, they still can't touch you.
I'll take it.
Get to Nissan, proud supporter of college athletics.
Welcome back to our December Signing Day special on Facebook Live from the Georgia Tech Football Operations Center. My name is Andy Demetri. You saw Georgia Tech's 4 All-ACC honorees in 2017. They have set the standard that the class of 2018 will look to emulate. Let's take a check at our updated signees who have already submitted their letters of intent to Georgia Tech. It began with the 3 early enrollees, TK Mensa, Jacquizz Jackson, Malachi Thomas. Out of the great state of Tennessee comes Jalen King, a very highly sought-after 4-star prospect. Luke Johns, ultra-athletic offensive and defensive lineman. A-back Jay Watley, Austin Smith, a local product from Ola High School. Vanya Thomas as well joins the defensive backfield out of Niceville, Florida. And 4 more Jackets have just signed their letters of intent. They have just arrived, and we look forward to introducing them to you in a moment. You noted Parker Braun as a true sophomore, following up on freshman All-American honors by making second-team All-ACC. And Shamir Devine, part of the signing class of 2014 out of Atlanta, Georgia. He capped off his Yellow Jacket career by earning honorable mention All-ACC honors at guard. But his time at Georgia Tech is done, at least playing career, which means there are some spots to open up on the O-line. And Georgia Tech has a couple of new O-line set to join the fold in 2018. Let's meet signing number 12. Out of the state of Alabama, Michael May, 6'3", 295 out of powerhouse Hoover High. Three-star prospect by ESPN, 24/7 Sports and Rivals. Honorable mention All-State as a senior. He captained Hoover High's state title teams the last 2 seasons. Also selected to participate in the 2017 Alabama-Mississippi All-Star Game. Mike Pelton will be his position coach at Georgia Tech. He also handled Michael May's recruitment. Let's hear from Coach Pelton on Michael May. All right, Coach, Michael May, what attracted you to him?
Man, just how he fits in our offense. Big, aggressive, nasty. Just that type of offensive lineman that, you know, we thrive on here in the system we play in. Great kid, great family. Winning program in Alabama, one of the winningest programs in the state of Alabama. So, you know, he knows how to win, knows how to work. Always wanted to get one out of that program over here. So this year was the first year we got a chance to get one.
When you look at offensive linemen, you're naturally going to look at technique. What stands out about the technique with which he plays in the O-line?
Man, just the pad level. You know, he's a big guy and big burly looking guy who could just really bend his knees and really just get guys, you know, get them out of there. You know, I was talking to his coach this past week and he said, you know, on the goal line, they just went right behind him. No matter how low those guys got, Mike could just get underneath them and get them out of the hole. So he's very attracted by just, you know, what he does on the field and his aggressiveness, man. I went to the state championship game, first play of the game, he pancakes the dude the first play of the game. So I was looking at that like he's going to fit well to what we do.
Mike Pelton himself, a native of Alabama, surely excited to have Michael May in the fold. Let's meet signee number 13 as we stay on the offensive line at Georgia Tech. From Prince Avenue Christian High School, it's Harrison Jump, and he jumps into the Yellow Jacket program. 6'5", 260, three-star prospect by ESPN 24/7 and Scout. All-region honors at offensive tackle as a senior. He was also all-region as a sophomore at defensive ends. He showed off his versatility for Prince Avenue Christian School, helped lead that program to 3 region championships, invited to participate in the Elite All-Star Game, the GACA All-Star Classic, and the FCA All-Star Game. And looking for plenty of games in his Yellow Jacket career, Mike Seawalk handled his recruitment. Let's hear from him on Harrison Jump. So just up the road, Prince Avenue Christian, Harrison Jump on his way to Georgia Tech. Speaking of jump, what jumps out when you watch him, Coach Seawalk?
Well, the first thing Harrison Jump did is he came down to camp and he kind of wowed everybody with his athleticism. He did a really nice job in the vertical jump and sprints, and then when he went through the drills, we kind of liked his intensity and we kind of liked his toughness in the drills at the point. So followed him up afterwards. We offered him, he took it, and we were excited to have him in the program. He was a guy that could change direction in space. We watched the highlight tape. He was a defensive lineman. That's the first thing that we kind of liked about him. Then he ended up making an offensive tackle out of him.
How important is that ability to change directions when you're talking about a lineman, especially in this day and age of spread offenses, a lot of misdirection in college football?
Well, it's extremely important to us because we have the 3-foot line splits. We're out there in open space. The defensive people aren't coming to us. It's not a foot-to-foot deal where people are just kind of just walling off the ball and just coming off there and trying to run into people. We have to go out there and search them up, and we got to hit them in open space. So for us, we're always going to look for a guy that can go ahead and bend his knees, redirect at the point of attack, and then go ahead and bring it with some power.
Does he remind you of anybody that you currently have in the Georgia Tech program, the physical gifts that he's bringing out of high school?
Well, there's a bunch of guys that are kind of fit his profile right now. I think that Zach Quinney does a good job with it. I think Jay Watley's a guy that did a nice job. Andy Marshall, he's a longer kid that's kind of being able to change direction and run. Obviously, they all played defense in high school, so that kind of similarity carries itself over.
And tell us how you found out about Harrison Jump.
Well, we found him a couple years back when Coach Vandergriff went up there, and he's kind of instilled to us a couple of kids that he thought could make our program. And he was definitely one because of the academic side and also the athletic side.
So Harrison Jump is now a Yellow Jacket, hoping to open holes for Georgia Tech's option offense, which featured some terrific performances this season by quarterback Quan Marshall and B-back Curvante Benson. They became the first duo to each rush for 1,000 yards in a season since Joshua Nesbitt and Jonathan Dwyer in 2009. And for Quan Marshall, it all began on Labor Day night versus Tennessee in that memorable performance, albeit a bittersweet one, in the loss to Tennessee in double overtime. But Quan Marshall rushed it 44 times, a school record for rushing attempts, 259 rushing yards, most ever by a quarterback at Georgia Tech. He broke a 73-year-old school record, third most rushing yards in a game in school history, and 5 rushing touchdowns. Also broke a school record. Quite a way to make a first impression in his first game as starting quarterback. B-back Curvante Benson didn't know he'd be the starter until midway through preseason camp, and he put together a fine season as well. The redshirt sophomore rushed for 196 yards against Pittsburgh September 23rd, the most rushing yards in a game by a B-back ever in the Paul Johnson era, eclipsing Anthony Allen's 195 versus Virginia in 2010. Paul Johnson said in the preseason that Benson might be his fastest B-back since Jonathan Dwyer showed that home run hitting ability throughout the 2017 season. The early signing period continues to roll along here at Georgia Tech. Let's meet the next signee for the class of 2018. Signee number 14 is Jalen Jackson, athlete out of Brunswick High School, 3-star prospect by 24/7 Sports, the Georgia Region 2-6A Player of the Year, 6 touchdown catches in offense, 3 interceptions on defense, and that included a 105-yard pick 6 during his senior campaign. Longest interception return in Brunswick High School history. He's a 2-time captain coming from the coast to the flats. Lamar Owens handled his recruitment. Let's hear from Coach Owens on Jalen Jackson. Jalen Jackson, the young man who brings a tremendous amount of athleticism from Brunswick High School. Coach Owens, what stands out about him? What do you like about him now being a Yellow Jacket?
You know, I'm just thrilled that Jalen Jackson decided to stay in state and to come play for Georgia Tech, come play for us. He's one of the best athletes in Southeast Georgia, really versatile, plays basketball, you know, starting guard for his basketball team that went to the state championship last year, and this year he was named unanimous region player of the year, just overall for his region.
So with the athleticism, what is it about the athleticism that stands out?
You know, he's extremely quick. You know, he plays slot receiver, he plays defensive back. He's also their punter. He ran a couple fake punts this year, and just tremendous ball skills and body control and awareness. And I attribute that to him playing sports his whole life and being a slot receiver and also playing basketball. But he has a tremendous knack for judging the ball in the air and making plays.
In this age of specialization, it's nice to see a young man who's a multi-sport athlete, but there's a lot that you can learn about somebody's physical ability by seeing how he performs in other sports.
Yeah, without a doubt, you know, and he is, you know, Jalen is a just overall competitor. Everybody I talk to down in Southeast Georgia, everybody raves about him. It didn't matter whether I was in Brunswick or in Camden or in Savannah. You know, everybody talks about this young man and how he's a tremendous athlete, but also a great kid. And, you know, he's definitely someone that I know will do well here at Tech, you know, on and off the field.
From the same region that produced a talented A-back in J.J. Green comes Jalen Jackson out of Brunswick High School, the next signee for Georgia Tech. Now let's go on to signee number 15, and we certainly have signing day covered from A to Z. Zamari Walton, defensive back, Melbourne Central Catholic High School, Melbourne, Florida. Another 3-star prospect by ESPN 24/7 Sports and Rivals. All district and all state. He set a school record with 8 interceptions this past fall. Craig Candido joined the staff this past season. Another protege of Paul Johnson from the Naval Academy. His first commit as a coach is Zamari Walton. Let's hear from Coach Candido on Zamari Walton. Craig, your first recruit on the staff at Georgia Tech is Zamari Walton, Melbourne Central Catholic High School in Florida. What'd you like so much where you wanted to get him on the flats?
Yeah, he's number one, he's a great person and a quality individual with high character, and that's what we look for in individuals that want to come here. But when we're talking about things on the field, he's a great athlete. He's got a lot of length, covers a lot of territory, did a lot for them down there, played defense, played offense, played wherever they needed him, had interceptions returned for touchdowns, played receiver, caught touchdowns, and just a phenomenal player.
As a defensive back, you have to have a lot of ball skills, especially in the ACC, where so many teams like to spread it out and air it out. What can you tell us about his ball skills and what makes him a good fit for that position in the ACC?
Well, it's like I said earlier, he played both sides of the ball. So when he played offense, he had to go up and get the football, and nothing changed when he was on defense. So, just being able to play both ways and have the ball in his hands half the time on the field on Friday nights bodes well for him on the defensive side when he has to go up and make those picks.
When did you first find out about this young man?
Found out about him in the spring, and then just kind of continued to stay up with him. And then we obviously offered him, and he committed over the summer. So we were really excited when he committed over the summer, and he's been up here a couple times, and just a great individual, like I said earlier.
It's not the only Georgia Tech signee with a talented relative. Earlier, we had noted Jacquizz Jackson's cousin, former NFL All-Pro Greg Lloyd. Well, Zamari Walton's cousin is Reggie Nelson, 11-year NFL veteran and an All-Pro himself with the Jacksonville Jaguars and recently the Oakland Raiders. We'll introduce more signees in a few minutes. Head coach Paul Johnson will also stop by to share his thoughts on the way his first early signing class is shaping up. But among those ready to welcome these new signees to the Flats, a former Georgia Tech football player himself. That would be Athletic Director Todd Stansberry. We sat down recently with Todd to discuss his vision for Georgia Tech football. You'll get his thoughts now as our early signing day special continues from Georgia Tech here on Facebook Live. So Todd, I have to ask you, what feelings does it stir in you on National Signing Day, seeing these kids sign their letters of intent, beginning the same journey that you took so many years ago at Georgia Tech?
I mean, it's an exciting start to a journey that these kids have no idea where it's going to lead and how rich the experience is going to be, and it's ultimately something that they'll carry with them for the rest of their lives. And deciding to come to Georgia Tech and the advantages that it ends up providing you over the course of your career is really something that they don't quite understand yet. But looking at it from, in retrospect, I think it was one of my life-defining moments is when I decided to come to Georgia Tech.
Recruiting, it's always the lifeblood of a program, and with the proliferation of recruiting and the increased importance of it nowadays in college football, what are you doing to address the recruiting infrastructure at Georgia Tech?
Sure, I mean it's a whole new ball game, and it's so incredibly important that you identify talent early and start to develop relationships early. And so where in the old days it was assistant coaches really driving the recruiting process, and they had to do the talent ID as well as the phone calls and the visits and all that. Now, at this level specifically, you have recruiting units that are constantly reviewing film, looking for young men that potentially would fit in our program. And so we're in the process of expanding both the personnel in our recruiting unit as well as identifying the best technology out there that can help us through whether it's just in the way we break down film, make us more efficient, analytics, you name it, we're looking at it. But the idea is to make our recruiting unit more robust as far as personnel is concerned, and make sure they got the tools that they need to be successful.
Well, having graduated from Georgia Tech, having played here, having worked here, and rising up now to athletic director, you know as keenly as anyone the strengths that Georgia Tech has to sell to prospective recruits. You also know that there are certain areas where Georgia Tech needs to close the gap, needs to play catch up. What are some of the areas you're addressing this offseason? We'll begin with facilities.
Sure. I mean, facilities are so incredibly important because to a recruit, the facilities represent your commitment to the program and your commitment to putting them in a position to be successful. So locker room is critical, and of course, we're probably a week away from starting to tear out the existing locker room and starting a major renovation there. You know, and then all the support units, the nutrition center, the academic center, the areas that the sports medicine, and the areas that really support the young people in our program. And if actually you come to our building right now, you'll notice ceilings being torn out and people moving offices, and it's all really with a focus on providing our student athletes with the support that they need to be successful.
And finally, let's talk apparel. The Adidas deal begins July 1st, 2018. So Christmas is not only next week for Georgia Tech fans, it'll be next July 1 as well. Where are we in the process right now with Adidas getting specs for uniforms and other apparel that might be on the way for the Yellow Jackets?
The process is all systems go, and I know that there's a lot of excitement, particularly around our designated gold, as well as what our look's going to be. But apparel, as the recruiting game associated with apparel has changed so drastically over the last, I'd say, decade or so. And I think, you know, coming from the West Coast, the main culprit was there in Eugene, Oregon, with their 56 different combinations or whatever they have. But that's really forced all of us to really get in the apparel game and make sure that our look is fresh and is something that attracts 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old recruits. It's one of the first things that recruits want to see when they come to your campus is what does their gear look like. And it's a far cry from, you know, going back to 1990 when we won a national championship wearing ponies.
I can imagine. Just a slightly different ball game. This 2018 signing class will be the first at Georgia Tech, head to toe in Adidas for the entirety of their careers. Todd, we appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on this early signing day special.
Thank you.
Ready, Tim?
Let's do this. Was that Mike? That's Harry. The car stopped for me.
And that's automatic emergency braking.
The Nissan Rogue family. Take on today.
Bottom line, they still can't touch you.
I'll take it.
Get to Nissan, proud supporter of college athletics.
Very good morning. Georgia Tech football is on the air. Close losses have been an unwelcome companion for the Yellow Jackets this year. They'll try to put another narrow defeat behind them today and ride the home crowd to a win over a ranked opponent from Bobby Dodd Stadium. It's your Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets at a record of 4-4, 3-3 in the ACC against the number 17 Virginia Tech Hokies at a mark of 7-2, 3-2 in league play.
There's no game in the world greater than football because it requires a team effort. You can't do it without me, and I can't do it without you. I gotta do my part, and you gotta do your part. We bring all that together, we get what we came for. If there's a break in the chain anywhere, we don't get what we came for. You bleed together, you sweat together. You cry together, you fight together. And in a moment such as this, when we backed in a corner, the question of the day, what are you gonna do to get out of it? What are you gonna do to get off the ropes? Great fighters know how to close it. And if you're a fighter and it ain't a bunch of words, we'll get it done today. Because we have to.
Play clock down to 5. Jackson gets the snap. Hands off and tripped up around left hand is Holston. No gain on the play. A deep shotgun. McMillan at the right hip of Bush. Georgia Tech stunting up the middle. Option to the right. Now tries to twirl away to the left. He's got nowhere to go. And he gets dropped back at the 11. A loss on the play. And the Jackets turn over the Hokies on downs. Savoy flies in motion. They fake it to him. Jackson pressured. Has to flush it. He gets sacked by Victor Alexander inside the 5.
Why was your unit so successful in slowing down Virginia Tech's offense?
You know what? I think we went out there and we just had fun today. You know, we're trying to get win number 5, which we got, and that was our goal. And we went out there as a team, and we decided we're going to play as hard as we can, and we're going to prove people wrong that we can win a game. You know, we can finish it because it seems to be the theme throughout the whole season. You know, we can't close, but today we did.
Once again, Marshall lines up with the base formation. Takes. Handoff on the misdirection. Cottrell, big hole down the right sideline, 25-30. He's at the 40, 45-50, streaking into 40, the 35-30, 25-20, and staggers down to the 15 of the Hokies. Takes, makes his read, spins right on the option, fakes the pitch, cuts upfield, into the end zone. Touchdown, Jacquizz. To Quan Marshall with his 15th rushing touchdown of the season. And that time it was a picture-perfect fake of the pitch. Mensa the featured back. Green swings in motion, fake of the toss. And Marshall rifles it deep down the sideline. Stewart breaking away, catches 20, 15, 10, 5. House call, Brad Stewart. There it is, first of the career. And the Jackets take the 20-9 lead. Cottrell and Searcy, the A-back combination. Everybody jammed in time for Virginia Tech. Marshall back to throw. Takes a shot down the seam. June dives. Makes the catch. 40, 35, 30. Breaking away the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5. Dives for the pylon. Does he get in? He does. Touchdown, Ricky June.
Yeah, every week, coach puts in like 3 plays that we know, all right, this is going to be a big play. And they, 9 times out of 10, they usually are. So Coach Johnson does a great job of scheming, like Brad said.
4th and 1 from the 32. He's got one receiver each way. Takes the snap. Back to pass. Looking. Tossing. Down the seam for Phillips into the end zone. Broken up. Broken up in the end zone. On Johnny Kerr. The redshirt freshman delivers. And the ball back to the Jackets. That will put this baby to bed. And as the final seconds tick off the clock, the Yellow Jackets pick up a 5th win of the season, and it's an upset over the number 17 Virginia Tech Hokies. Our final score this afternoon, the Yellow Jackets 28, Virginia Tech 22.
Today's coverage of signing day at Georgia Tech is presented by Nissan. You may not be a winner on the field or the court, but when your team scores that last-second game winner and the fans go wild, it feels like victory. There's nothing like it in the world except driving a Nissan. Get to Nissan, a proud supporter of Georgia Tech athletics. Georgia Tech didn't get a score in the final seconds, but they certainly stopped one against Virginia Tech. A dramatic 28-22 victory over the number 17 Hokies, one of the highlights of the 2017 season. It also extended Georgia Tech's home winning streak to 8 games, which was its longest in 17 years. Hard to believe some of these future Jackets were barely born in 2000, but here we are, and they'll be coming to a field near you. Let's meet the newest signee in the 2018 class for Georgia Tech, and another 4-star is on the way. Linebacker Justice Dingle, 6'3", 245 pounds, out of Bowling Green, Kentucky. A 4-star prospect by rivals, ranked the number 2 player in his class in the state of Kentucky. Also the nation's number 16 ranked inside linebacker by ESPN. Nominated for the Army All-America game, the Dick Butkus Award for National High School Linebacker of the Year, and a nominee for Kentucky Mr. Football as a senior. Let justice ring out. Justice Dingle coming to the flats. Let's hear from assistant coach Andy McCollum. Another highly sought after recruit is coming to Georgia Tech. Coach, what makes you so excited to have him in the fold here?
You know, it started out with Justice probably 2 years ago. He had been at Oakland High School in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, where we had recruited Caleb Oliver and Kevin Creasy there. I was sitting there one day, he said, here's a kid that you need to go check on. We have not been in Kentucky a lot, And Creasy told me I needed to go check on this kid that had played at Oakland his first 2 years. So I went up to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and what a great program. Kevin Wallace, the head football coach there. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I know last year state champion. I think he's won. He'll get on me if I don't say it right, but I know he's won 6 or 8 state championships here at Bowling Green High School. Justice comes from a great family also. Justice Senior and Tanya, character, serious about academics, serious about his future. They've been here, they've been to games. Got a younger brother that's going to be a talented player coming up. That's also a young kid in Jordan. So it's a good fit. Yes, he's a linebacker. He's playing basketball this year. He's athletic. He's got great size and great speed for his size. So we're excited about getting him out of a great program area in the state of Kentucky.
Linebackers have different attributes, but you put them all together, they fit into a really solid unit. What kind of attributes does Justice have at the linebacker position that you see as a fit for the Georgia Tech defense?
He's a physical guy. He's one of the bigger linebackers. I mean, Justice is going to go 6'2", 6'2 and a half, probably 240, 245 right now. So he's a guy that can get downhill, loves playing the game, and he'll be a physical linebacker and a nice presence sitting in there.
Justice Dingle hoping to follow in the footsteps of a promising freshman linebacker this past season in Bruce Jordan Swilling. He was a native of Louisiana, so is this next signee. Let's introduce him to you now. On the offensive line, Zach McKeon out of West Feliciana High School in St. Francisville, Louisiana, a 3-star prospect by 24/7 Sports and Scout, 2-time All-District, All-Metro, and All-State. Helped lead West Feliciana to a 16-1 record and the school's first ever state championship as a senior in 2017. Let's hear from co-offensive line coach Mike Sewak on Zach McKeon. I understand, Coach, that the Louisiana natives, the 4 of them in this program, are known within the team as the Boot Boys. They might be adding a 5th in Zach McKeon out of Louisiana. Offensive lineman, what do you love about him?
Well, first of all, he plays in an option offense. He's played with Coach Rob Odom, who kind of turned us on to this young man a long time ago. He brought him up here for a day, and he came and spent some time with us. Enjoyable. He's a defensive lineman that can play both sides of the ball. He plays both sides of the ball. Had a great senior year. They won the state title. I mean, he was a very integral part of it on both sides of the ball. And he's a guy that's very physical. He can run. He can bend. He's very flexible. He's tough. I think the coaches down there in that community, I went down there and from Baton Rouge on up in that whole region, they talk about his toughness, how hard he played the game, and how he goes both ways all the time.
You have guys like Jacquizz Lee and Bruce Jordan Swilling and Trey Swilling, success stories out of the state of Louisiana. In general, what kind of player comes out of that state of Louisiana, high school football?
I think it's a guy that's still on developing. I think he's got he has a great foundation, and I think what happens is when they get to the next level, they just keep getting better and better and better. And I think they're going to go ahead and you can develop a kid more and more. The more that you put onto them, the more that they take the responsibility of it, and all of a sudden they become a little bit more aggressive. And also, obviously, they learn their technique so much better, and they kind of go and become playmakers.
When you're an offensive line coach, you get these kids in a college program, they still have a lot of development left to do. But as you see him right now, what's the area of his game that makes you excited? Yeah, this is a guy who's already farther along than a typical kid coming out of high school that'll be joining my program.
2 things. Number one, he was recruited by most everybody as a defensive lineman. So he plays real low and real flexible in his ankles and his hips, and he has that power and that burst right there in that little in the fight zone. And then he can accelerate off the ball, and when he can run off the ball, he can get up into the linebacker and just knock that guy off his feet. And then also he can also lead on the pulls, and I think he's a good job. And I said in that infighting in there too, he gives you an opportunity to play both guard and center for us.
Zach McKeon, who plans to major in business administration at Georgia Tech. Earlier in the program, we had noted signee TK Chimedz's name translates to "We've been blessed." There's an interesting backstory about Zach McKeon's name as well. According to Coach Seawalk, his dad named him Zach and spelled it Z-A-K-K after the heavy metal guitarist Zach Wild. True story. Signing number 17 in the 2018 signing class for Georgia Tech. Still to come, we'll hear from head coach Paul Johnson. First, though, when you come to Georgia Tech as a student athlete, you know you have opportunities you don't get elsewhere, namely access to high-powered internships semester after semester. Georgia Tech student athletes take advantage of them. Let's take a look at that now as our signing day coverage continues here on Facebook Live.
I was a business development intern at Lexicon Technologies, and really they was coming out with a new software coming to market. So I was part of the product development team to help get that software ready.
I interned at Barton Executive Search, and my official title as an intern was I was a research analyst intern. And in that internship, what we basically did was a company would come to us asking about helping them land a CEO, a VP of sales, a VP of operations, something like that. So we basically, as interns, we like kind of sift through LinkedIn and like search those titles for them and kind of help find the proper candidates that met the criteria for everyone.
So I worked at the Energy Innovation Center at Southern Company this summer. With our project with Power Over Fiber, we're basically trying to have the fiber optic cables within power lines so you wouldn't have to run them separately. And that was a unique solution because I'd never really thought about that ever. You know, I'd seen the transmission lines in the city and it's just kind of like, okay, I don't really know what those are for, but I know generally what they're about. And it was really cool trying to figure out if and how it would be possible to do that.
Well, it's really our selling point, these internships. You know, I think Todd Stansbury, when he was hired, he wanted to make sure that we were preparing our student athletes to be market ready. And based on the experiences of our student athletes, they feel that these internships have given them the experience to know what the next step is in their career. And that's really, you know, it starts from the top down, but also it takes, you know, Coach Johnson's buy-in, our strength and conditioning staff. You know, many times these internships take place in the summertime. You know, workouts start 6 a.m. These kids are off to work, you know, 8 to 5, and then they come in and do their individual work in the evenings. And you know, I think, you know, it takes buy-in from Coach Johnson, the strength staff, you know, our athletic director to really ensure that this program is a success.
Me and one of the other interns actually headed a project with Power Over Fiber, and it was pretty interesting. I had to learn a lot about it. I didn't know much at first, but that's what was amazing about the internships because I learned a lot about their company and how they go about doing things.
Yeah, it was very interesting because not only did I get to help get the software market ready, I got to learn more about the marketing side of coming out with a new product. I kind of learned more all the aspects of business, not just one specific thing.
It was more than just an internship. It was more like it was almost like a mentorship. Like they kind of took us in, they just accepted us, and like they wanted to teach us and not just throw us in the fire so much. And it just really helped me out because like it helped me get my feet wet and it helped me understand like this is what the business world like and this is the world outside of football, and it made me really excited about seeing what's to come.
The number of internships that our students have acquired and done well in, you know, the list of internships at, you know, Fortune 500 companies, and that's our selling point, our differentiator. As you know, Todd Stansbury says, you know, you can walk right out Peachtree and, you know, have an opportunity for an internship with 75% of the Fortune 1000 companies in Atlanta, and you know, that's just an experience that isn't offered at other schools.
I think it's so appealing that that's one of the reasons why you come here. I mean, it's not just, like Coach Johnson said, it's not a 4-year plan, it's a 40-year plan.
They did so much. They do so much for us. They do a great job, from resumes to business cards to helping us with interviewing, all type of stuff, and helping us get in contact with companies, from my advisor to Lucius to Doug Alvin to just everyone up in the academics office. They really do a spectacular job with us because there are so many of us that have no clue. We honestly think that football is going to last forever, but just being able to go up there and talk to them and them like help us through the whole process, they do a ton for us and it really helps us a lot.
Ready, Tim?
Let's do this. Was that Mike? That's Harry. The car stopped for me.
and that's automatic emergency braking.
The Nissan Rogue family. Take on today.
Bottom line, they still can't touch you.
I'll take it.
Get to Nissan, proud supporter of college athletics.
Welcome back to our December signing day special for Georgia Tech football on Facebook Live. 17 student athletes have submitted their letters of intent this morning, and we close things down by visiting with the head coach of the Yellow Jackets, Paul Johnson. We should note first that student athletes have until 11:59 p.m. on Friday to take advantage of this early signing period. You have 17 right now, but that's not to say that you'll only have 17 in the early signing period.
Well, no, that's right. I think we have a couple more out there that are still options, and there's several guys that we're still recruiting that may not decide until February, until the end of the signing period. But we're pretty much, at least, I'd say 5/6 of the way through with the class.
This was the first year of the early signing period. How did it go for you? How did things change in the recruiting cycle?
Well, I think it went well. I like it personally. I think that what happens is you find out, if guys are verbally committed, then you find that out if they sign. If they don't sign, then they're really not verbally committed. It doesn't mean that you still might not recruit them till the end or go with it, but it's much easier if you find out today. For instance, we had a guy flip on us last night, and if that were in February, it's hard to replace him. With this early signing period, it'll be easy to replace that spot.
So the December signing period, a little bit of a truth serum for these high school seniors. What do you like most about the 17 kids you signed and some of the needs you've addressed with them?
Well, like always in every class, I think that you try to address your needs and where they fit in. And certainly we've got some outstanding young men and some really good athletes in this class. And I think overall the class, they really enjoy each other. They like being around each other. Hopefully the chemistry is going to be great, and certainly there's some really good players in this class.
A lot of defensive backs. Was that an area of emphasis, knowing that you're going to have some turnover, got some guys whose eligibility has either already ended or is going to be ending next year?
Well, basically you recruit to your needs, and you have the 85 scholarships broken down, and it just so happened that we had a few more numbers there this year. So you catch back up. If we were looking for 15 or 16 defensive backs, counting corners and safeties, and we were down numbers-wise, so we were able to sign a few more this year.
17 kids have signed this morning. Do you have a number in mind how many you want to wind up with in the full class?
I think when it's all said and done, we could probably get to 21, something like that, and that's probably the number we're looking at.
All right, well, kudos, Coach. Congratulations on the early signing period. You're on the record as saying you're a big fan of it.
Yeah, I am a fan of it to this point.
All right. Well, Coach, we appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us.
All right. Thank you.
And for Paul Johnson and our entire crew, thank you so much for joining us on our special signing day coverage here on Facebook Live. Big thanks to everybody behind the camera, Andy Bland, Todd McCarthy, and the entire Buzz Vision production team. And for all of you listening, we'll see you on the flats next fall. My name is Andy Demetra. Thanks once again for tuning in to our special December signing day coverage presented by Nissan on Facebook Live.